Well, hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Only we're on a Tuesday, bank holiday weekend, of course. A big weekend for those following Greyhound racing and, of course, its counterparts. A great weekend on the track to look back on, including the opening round heats of the Tote Gold Cup. Welcome to 2024. I'm joined, as always, by the exile dub Tommy Lyons. Sadly, Declan O'Donoghue had to drop out this morning. Technical issues. The Gremlins were playing with his computer, and it seems it just ain't working properly. So it's just me and Tommy. Tommy, we've been here before. I'm sure we'll be able to spout a bit of rubbish for the next half an hour, three quarters of an hour. Lots to look back on and a few bits and pieces to look forward to.
Yeah, plenty to look forward to, Ian. You can almost forget 2023 now and kind of start concentrating on what's ahead. But I think there's a different dynamic to the year, Ian. Looking at the derby being stretched out so far into it's just a bit of a different dynamic. It'd be interesting to see how trainers tackle it. Do they campaign a little bit differently or what? But at least we have quality early on in the Gold Cup. Now, look, it's a long way from here to the derby, and there'll be a lot of changes over the course of the year. But at least there was quality to enjoy at the start of the season, anyway.
Yeah, it certainly was. It was a big weekend for Liam Dowling, and not just apart from the action down at Clonmel. Of course, he was the fastest heat winner in Dublin. He had Ballinulty McFinn winning the winning his opening round heat in the Gold Cup in a fastest of the round 28:17, a blistering run from him. Of course, we must mention it's back to being the Tote Gold Cup. And if you can't get to Shelbourne Park, of course, we have Barking Buzz through the Tote. A euro will get you. A euro bet will allow you to see any of the races live on Barking Buzz, and well worth keeping in touch with all the action in the Tote Gold Cup. Of course, the final is due to be scheduled or due to be live on GTV on February 24th. And well, judging from the opening round, Tommy, I think there'll be something to look forward to on February 24th, because this is probably a hotter Gold Cup than we've had in a long time.
It is. There's plenty of depth, but one of my favorite greyhounds from last year, Carrick Aldo, is there and looking like he's returned in the same form he kind of finished last year. And then you have McFinn, as you talked about, Liam Dowling, who had a great weekend at the coursing in Clonmel. McFinn. This is like it's really good to see this dog back
Yeah.
to this sort of level of form, isn't it? It's kind of
Indian
you know
summer,
you,
an Indian summer in his career. Like, don't get me wrong, he's not an old greyhound per se. Like, he has a bit of age in his side, but back in the day, he would have been seen as a dog that should be in his prime. At this moment, it just so happens in recent years, it's more earlier, earlier in the year or in their career where dogs tend to peak now. But absolutely at his very best the other evening, 28:17, as we said. If you take out that 2 or 3 months around last year's English Derby, he's been quite the star through his whole career. Just around the English Derby and Toaster just didn't seem to work for him last year.
yeah, and that can happen. We have a lot of things you have to forgive. They're not robots, like they're animals, and it's easy to forgive something like that. I just love the fact that, like, he's by the time the derby comes around, right, he'll be 4 years of age. Okay, we won't be considering McFinn to win a derby. It would be remarkable, of all Liam Downey's achievements, and there've been a number of them, and they've been great. That would be something special if he was to get McFinn to win a derby at 4 years of age. But you know what? That performance the other night over 525 showed a sharpness. It's like a remarkably good sharpness is there. I mean, for his age, he's over 3 years of age. He's not that old either, but he's I just love the display. I kind of wasn't expecting. I know he has the pace, but I kind of wasn't expecting it to be quite that sharp. And of course, you'd expect it to be a little bit of improvement too. It's been like he did run in December, but I still think that, over the period, and the kind of the cold period around Christmas and January, you wouldn't be doing a huge amount with them. I mean, that's only something I think he'll build on. I
Yeah.
love the performance of.
No, tremendous performance. And we'll get to it in a few minutes, but it was one of the heats where there was more around them to worry about than there were for some of the other dogs. Like, this wasn't a bad contest by any stretch of imagination. And indeed, he had to be at his razor sharpest, because the likes of Boyle Sports, Coco and Road Exile, Jatara, we know how fast they can go to the corner. And that's not to mention a lot of other news around a big race in second spot. But let's get through it. Let's race through the six heats. The opening heat, safe to say, this was the heat where of all the dogs in this contest, very few of them had what you'd call a Gold Cup profile, like 3 or 4 strong runners in this contest. Aren't we always the one that you were sort of expected to go fast, missed the kick, and she never played a part? Tommy Hewitt went up reasonably well, but Jetstream Breeze was too close to the pace. He's a big 575, 600-yard greyhound. Turned close enough. Mary Gilbert has her team absolutely flying at present, and Jetstream Breeze, there was a certain inevitability about it off the second bend. He was always going to prove too strong. Tommy Hewitt swung wide off the last bend. He regularly does that, and all of a sudden Jetstream Breeze too strong. 28.60, good solid start to the Gold Cup.
Yeah, it's probably a better performance than the clock, I would say. Hookham came out reasonably well, and whatever. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it seemed that the winner
he seemed to go backwards very quickly, whether he took a bump off fire time or not, but just didn't get racing early, Hookham, but absolutely charged home.
He got squeezed out a little bit, I'd say, because the winner, Jetstream Breeze, also kind of seemed to edge in a little bit, and they definitely came together to some degree. It's hard to say exactly, watching how much was involved in it, but I like the way Jetstream Breeze kind of went away. It was down to Hookham coming across the two dog actually early on, and then Jetstream Breeze going in slightly. But yeah, you're right. There was never inevitability just after the second bend, because Jetstream Breeze was actually quite impressive towards the end of last season with over 575 and just stays really well. Had been a dog that I hadn't known much about, I'll be honest about. He is quite relatively likely raced as well. So it was kind of new enough to me towards the end of last season. And I think he can improve on it. Obviously over 525, will he have that sharpness? From what we've seen so far, you doubt it.
Yeah.
But there's lots to like about that display.
He's the type of dog that had been around 15, 20 years ago at Shelbourne Park, when the 575, every night there was a good 575 opener to finish off proceedings. And we saw, week after week, same dogs returning. There were great battles in the ring, apart from the track itself. And he would have been absolutely made for those times, because every week he goes up strong, as you say, stays the 575, 600-yard trip very well. And he's a dog that, while I don't think he'll win a Gold Cup, I could certainly see him playing a big part, let's say, in the likes of the Shelbourne Open 600, that sort of a competition, because he has a bit of everything. He's a real all-rounder. Bred in the purple, Droopy Sydney, I Am's a Breeze. She was an absolute star cross in the UK. Tommy Hewitt continues to run well for the wonderfully named The Horse That Bought the Dog Syndicate, and Michael Donnelly. He just is what he is. He's a very solid, consistent greyhound. He's that yard or two behind the very best, but he'll run his race most nights. And third was Hookham, as I said, absolutely rocketed home. Octane Cora qualified, because it was 4 to qualify from each of the 6 heats, leaving 24. Anything else you want to mention in the heat, Tommy?
I would say the runner-up, in fairness, hadn't run since November. Hadn't had a competitive race since November, and was entitled to probably improve a little bit more. I mean, the clock is. I don't think either any of the first 3 home there, are they're capable of an awful lot better on the clock, all 3 of them. So, that race, more than maybe some of the heats later on, had a very much like a start of the campaign kind of feel about it.
Yeah. Let's get on to the second of the 6 heats, and we've mentioned it already. Ballinulty McFinn, he was up 2 pounds. He's weighing in at 70-60 the other evening. That's heavier than he's been in quite a while. Didn't affect him. He's 17 wins now from 38 starts. Away and gone. I was slightly concerned by the makeup of this race. You were expecting Boylesport's Coco to fly up, Road Exile to fly up, Jatara potentially to go up fast on the outside. Even Lotto of the News is always capable of a decent enough start. He was on the fence, but Ballinulty McFinn came away racing, quickly asserted it, and that was that. I thought a lot of the news ran a fine race for Sean Conway. Sean does great work. He's a limited string, but I'll tell you what, they really hold their own around Shelbourne Park. And back in third was Road Exile. He missed the kick. I actually thought he showed loads of early speed to get around in third. He's never going to be picking up the dogs in front of him. That's not his style of racing. He's an away and gone merchant, but Ballinulty McFinn, just a true star.
Yeah, I'd like to see the dog that will pick up Ballinulty McFinn when it leads a couple of lengths around the first bend, especially in that sort of form. I thought now it took a little step to the right. Nothing new there. We've seen enough of Ballinulty McFinn at this stage to know what he will do. Road Exile missed the kick slightly, edged in a bit. Actually ran very well. And Boylesport's Coco, actually, even though it's beaten 15 lengths, and it might be silly to suggest it ran well, but it ran better than that, I think. Missed it completely. Boylesport's Coco needs to go up, and she's still got great potential. She's in against dogs now, and very early in the campaign, and you're talking about top dogs. Ballinulty McFinn, there was a standout. I mean, the race was over very early. I just that sharpness amazes me. Like, and he's a 76 pound dog. He's fairly nimble for it. He even though if you watch him striding down the back, you can kind of see it. I thought early you that sort of sharpness you'd associate more with a late 60s, maybe 70 pound dog, that kind of light nimble time dog. But he's able to engage power fairly quickly. It was deeply impressive. Uh, was there much actually? One of the points is were there many people there in terms of punting and that sort of stuff on the card on the night?
I couldn't testify to it now, to be honest. I was up in my crow's nest. Middle floor was very, very busy. Top floor was busy, where it's an overflow now. Obviously, we have to point out that the ground floor at Shelbourne Park is closed. The ground floor lobby, should I say? Whereas you get out onto the grandstand, you can float around out there, and I'm sure there was a few punters knocking about. You could hear a bit of cheering and whatnot. So there were certainly a few people outside. Obviously, it is February, so many people would have favoured the middle floor where the bar and the restaurant is, for a bit of warmth and comfort. But I would imagine going forward, while the work has been done at Shelbourne Park, that grandstand area downstairs will get busier as the temperatures rise. But no, listen, there was still a good crowd. Yeah, Shelbourne isn't going to handle the same crowd it can normally for the next 5 or 6 months. That is worth pointing out. I would urge people to be patient. The ground floor at Shelbourne Park, we all have great memories of it, nights after racing, derbies, winter racing festivals, night of stars before that, and other big nights. But even the most rose tinted people could say it was looking a bit tired. The work needed to be done, and wouldn't it be wonderful to welcome a big crowd back now for the end of the year for the derby, and a beautiful shiny downstairs at Shelbourne Park. It's something to really look forward to. Excuse me. So yeah, that's worth keeping in mind. But McFinn, a lot of other news: Road Exile and Boyle Sports Coco progressed from the second heat onto the third heat. Tommy, the betting would have suggested that Trap One, Droopy Zadell, was going to take the world of beating. She was even money ahead of Superfast Gordon at 7-4. Didn't happen for Superfast Gordon. He got a bit squeezed out early on, and he is lightly enough raced. And coming back to Shelbourne Park, having been around Tralee, and yeah, he trialed in Limerick. And again, he just wasn't at his sharpest early, and that saw him find traffic, balked at the opening corner, forced to check off the second bend. In contrast, deadly style on the outside. Not a dog I knew an awful lot about, it has to be said. Decent card. You see Michael O'Donovan on the card and you go, well, this is worthy of respect. Sent off 5-2, whereas if it had been trained by anybody else given its card, it may well have been 4-1. But I really like this display. I know it wasn't the fastest heat winner by any stretch, 28.50, but he was one of the last hitting the ground. But he showed terrific early speed up the outside, Tommy. And once going to the front, never really looked like getting in any trouble or being picked up. Droopy Zadell, she also missed the kick somewhat, made full use of the rails pitch and ran a good second spot. She can go that 20-30 spots faster. I wouldn't surprise if the winner went 20 or 30 spots faster in the future, but I thought it was a fine display by the winner. And Droopy Zadell, she continues to run well. She's just going to need to find that. If you look at her sectionals, 210, 213, 215, 216, 219, I'd love to see her start doing 208s. You know what I mean? She could be an absolutely top class bitch if she produced those starts.
I agree with you about this race. I think it's a lot better race than maybe the clock would suggest. For a couple of reasons. Deadly style, yeah, missed the kick and showed great pace. And but what I really liked was that Droopy Zadell missed it slightly, showed a nice bit of acceleration into the bend. It was all very tight. But then maybe it was five, I think it was a Neon Kite Night that got across in front and just was in Droopy Zadell's way coming out of the second bend. And once the dog in front of him moved slightly right, Droopy Zadell quick and through it sharply and thought, geez, this is impressive. This is going to win now. And you think it was going to win. And then it ran to about a length. I just couldn't get any closer. That's what I liked about Deadly Style. It kept Droopy Zadell's a strong bitch as well. And you would expect that maybe they might pick up the one in front. And they're staying nicely clear, five and a half lengths clear of Hello Mom, who's limited, but at quite a high level, and is also proven over 575, 600 even. So you're talking about kicking away from a stayer as well. I think the two of them in the first two there actually ran much better than the 28.50 suggest.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Back in third, Hello Mom, she was up 3 pounds. It was her return to Shelbourne. It's where she wants to be. She's just a lovely yeah, bitch that you get some sport out of her given the way she can start, and she's strong enough. Like she's 28, well, she has 28.32 in her card, but yeah, she's beaten 5.5 lengths. I think that sort of shows how well the front two were running, because hello, mom. You could probably set her clock to her. Like she'd probably do 28.50 to 60 every night of the week. Like she's beaten 6.5 lengths in 28.50. So yeah, there's just a little good guide there, I think. Let's move on to Heat 4 because another holiday was a hot favorite here, given the way he finished 2023. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Tommy, this dog over most dogs in the competition probably looked looked most like he needed the run. Another holiday. Off the second bend. He could see he was trying to press the accelerator. It just wasn't happening for him. He just needs to sharpen up that little bit for what guts of over a month off the track. I'm sure he'll come on a sight for this run the other evening. But Optic Chico, that's 2 runs now at Shelbourne Park were 5.25 yards, and he's been pretty impressive in both 28.28 the other night, 28.23 in his previous start on January 13th. This is a dog that we didn't think he was. We thought he was probably a yard shy to the corner over 550 yards. It's 2.5 yard runs this year. He's certainly got up much faster. And off the second bend the other evening, again, I use that term inevitability. There was only going to be one winner.
Yeah, Look, he's still when you're looking at his top 5 to 5 company, you're talking about lack of early pace and going to need a little bit of luck along the way, and that's why I don't think I'm speaking out of school, but I met Declan was supposed to be on with us today. I talking to Declan in Leopardstown on Sunday, and he was fierce impressed with the winner, fierce impressed with him. Thought even maybe this could be a dog that might be a nice bet looking ahead to the Derby, looking ahead that far already. He just thought he says he the way he read it was that you don't see too many dogs going past another holiday the way he did. Now, I'll be in your camp. I think it's a bit too early. From my opinion, it's too early to be kind of making decisions on what way another holiday is. He did race, like you said, like he was a little bit stuffy, like he just needed the run, that sort of stuff. I actually, in fairness, when Optic Chico kind of accelerated on the bend, actually that's one of the things that impressed me about the winner was coming out of the second bend. You can see he's really trying hard to get traction and is doing so, and is actually picking up ground off the bend, which is a difficult spot to do it. And again, on the crown of the third bend, he kicks on and actually, or not the crown of the third bend, entrance to the third bend, he kicks on and leaves another holiday behind. Now, I like the fact that another holiday didn't give up there. He tried hard, and that to me is exactly what you said. It's a dog that is trying to give everything, and it's just not. It's just not there at the moment. I would expect that it might be more than one run before we see the best of him. Probably need next week's run as well, another holiday. But I say, yeah, I like both of them. Yeah, Optic Chico does lack early pace, and I just wonder when I see him maybe in fourth place going towards the bend in a race like that. I'm wondering where he'd be in a 550 at the bend against the top dogs. I'm just trying to place him, and I think he'd be a wide seat and he'd probably get his box most of the time. But I just like to see a bit more of it personally. I just like to see a bit more of it now.
I think he is going up better than he was. I think that's. I
Yeah,
think that he went 6 months or something without winning a race. He was obviously in very very hot company each and every night, and it was a case of he just seemed to be hitting the trouble spots and like for all that he had plenty of racing, he just looked a bit green. Does that make sense? Even though he was probably talking 15, 16, 17 races at this point. But I think the penny somewhat dropped with him. He had a couple of runs over a bit further. It was the night he won the 600 November 11th. I think that was his first win since July, something along those lines. So not quite 6 months, 4 or 5 months anyway, but it was a number of runs. But since then, he did a 203 in his January 13th success. I'm not sure what did he do the other evening. Sure, it can't have been too far behind that. 203 again, Optic Chico. Like it's much better. He's always had an engine. We've known that. And even if he goes up like he did the other evening, I think he'd be fine over 550, just given the power that he has down the back straight. Now, will it see him win the Derby? No, he's going to probably have to find another length, but I think he's a fast greyhound. There's no question about it, and yeah, he's
look,
not. Well, you're not disputing that either. I know that, but
no, no,
he's
no, no,
not one
but
I'd be just putting a pen through.
no, but he's not, because look at the previous week, or a couple of weeks ago, he went to the bend almost with Rathdown Molly, who finished runner up in the Gold Cup last year. So,
Mm.
like, and there's an early pacer who won a consolation laurels. I mean, she's a terrific bitch last season. So he went to the bend almost with her, maybe lost a length around the bend where she kind of kicked on a bit, and then won comfortably in the end. So look, he's obviously showing the stamina the right way that way. If you're thinking about derbies or 550 competitions down the line, but I just think the 2 out of 3 the other night surprised me though. I have to say, looking at it, it surprised me.
Yeah. Let's get on to the next heat, which was won by Carrick Aldo. We must point out at this point that the first 4 heats had all been won by sons of Druppy Sydney, which is, I suppose it's not really a surprise to us anymore. And Druppy Sydney in Carrick Aldo was pretty much back to his best here. Tommy, I'd been a bit disappointed with him in victory in his previous outing. But again, it was probably like another holiday, probably just needed the run. And I know he'd had a run January 6th, but just looked like a dog that just wasn't quite firing. And he was firing the other night, 28-18 off the front. Scotty Scheffler ran a fine race in second spot. He's a dog that's shown that he has loads of pace, just doesn't quite get the run at times, but he slipped around in second the other evening and really sort of pushed Carrick Aldo. Carrick Aldo had the speed to open up into the third bend just that little bit more, 3.5, 4 lengths at that point, goes on to win 2 lengths. A very pleasing run for David Murray and Thomas Glynn. We'll get on to Thomas Glynn a bit later on because he's built himself a nice little team of dogs. But Carrick Aldo, I think we're both hoping we can see real fireworks from this dog in the coming year.
Yeah, big time. Like he's only had 18 runs. I mean, it's not a huge amount. Like his 3 runs this year, missed the kick, did 224. Led the first bend the previous day when you were saying you weren't impressed with him. That was off at 214. He did 208 the other night. And I was even looking at it, watching the race, thinking he didn't fly out. God, you'd just love some night for that dog to fly out because I'm absolutely certain he'd smash through 28 seconds. Absolutely certain he'd do it when he's fully wound and things. He's had a nice bit of running or whatever, or a nice bit of racing. I think he'll smash through 28 seconds. I'd love to see it, but of course it'll have to be a night when he breaks and absolutely comes out under the bars, which he's not doing. And maybe that told in the latter stages of the Laurels last year. Maybe that's he hadn't been flying out anyway down there, which is surprising for such a good sprinter that he's not doing that over 5.25. But hopefully this could be his year. He's built, he's obviously was just given a run the first day this year, and he won the second day. But as you said, you weren't impressed with him, and that's fair enough because it's only a stepping stone towards the likes of taking on a competition like this. I mean, over 5, he'd probably stay 550, but I wouldn't like to stretch the dog over fight in a 550 competition. To be quite honest about it, you don't know what they might not knock out of him over the.
I think the way I'd campaign him this year is keep him to the 5.25s, maybe go back for the sprint, give him a break, and then at the end of the year, there's nothing to be lost for having to go with the Derby. The Derby actually, of all the dogs, the Derby probably falls right for a dog like this. Now, granted, it's going to be in colder conditions and whatnot, but I would suspect that. Yeah, give him his full campaign this year. Give him a nice little break before the Derby starts, and then have a go. Because what else do you have to lose? You can give him another break of 2 or 3 months. Then after that, if you wish. But that's the way I'd campaign.
And the slightly longer run to the bend in the Hull would absolutely suit him down to the ground. If you could break, he'd be going a long way clear. If he doesn't break, he'd be showing some pace into the bend. So I would be thinking exactly the same way. Just freshen him up before the Derby and give him a pop at it. But obviously he'll have targets in the meantime because I don't think he'll be putting all eggs in one basket thinking this is an out and out Derby dog or what he's not. That's not what we're saying. But yeah, like I think I think there are things to be won. I'd love to see him win this competition because I think he's that type of dog. He's that fast, and I'd love to see something special from him along the way. Not impossible, not impossible. Very encouraged by what I saw the other night.
Yeah, certainly am. Carrick Aldo, obviously a dog with huge ability and pace. Second was Scotty Scheffler, ran well. He's only beaten the 2 lengths. Ray Mealy is going to have a lot of sport with this dog. He's only won 4 times in his career, but in recent times he's been really taking up some quality. Obviously he's been running over 5.25 yards, but I don't think there's going to be an issue with 550 yards for this dog. If you look at the dogs that have been beating him over 5.25 yards, they're all razor sharp. I think the step up to 550 will really suit him because you saw the way he was finishing out his race the other evening. There's no question he'll get the trip, and I could see him winning a bucket load of races. And Kells Dynamo, I thought, ran well in third for Thomas Lahey. Good to see him having a runner in Shelbourne Park. He may have been 20-1, but I thought he ran a fine race in third spot. Mikey's Millie back in fourth. She had won a competition actually at Shelbourne Park the previous week, so she's running well for Michael Whelan. Ballymac Walt went out, missed the kick, found trouble on the corner, Disco Pants, a dog we've always liked. He missed the kick and found a bit of traffic and was balked at the second bend as well, so you can sort of forgive them for the runs. And then to the final heat, Tommy, on the clock, 20 28-42. Looked faster to me. Like, absolutely just did everything right. Glenar Martha, away and gone. Like, this was bingo stuff. Way and gone. Forget about it. Not catching me. She's a mile and a half clear of halfway. The Foxy Devil's beaten 11 lengths. But I said it in commentary. I don't think commentary is recorded, but I thought he ran an awful lot better than the 11 length defeat suggested. Walked out of traps, having been so impressive in his 2 or 3 previous outings. Walked out, flew into the corner, found more traffic into the back straight, and had to get going to get sort of away from dogs that had a bit more experience than him. And yeah, he's beaten 11 lengths, but like he could do 28-40 next week with his eyes closed. So, but Glenar Martha, this one was over after a stride.
This was, yeah, and I'm like you. I was just amazed when I saw the clock after watching the race. I was going, that can't be right. 28-42. Um, yeah, I'm not a. I never like to stick rigidly to clocks because things like Optic Chico 203 and things like that. It doesn't look as fast. Maybe it is, but it doesn't look as fast as some of the others. And then you have Glenar Martha, who's absolutely trouncing. Yes, there was trouble in the runner up. Even coming out of the back straight, particularly the Foxy Devil, got forced to check out. Wanted to go outside the dog in front and check outside, and actually ended up going back to fourth place and running on again. So, but Glenar Martha's been a classy for a long time. It feels like for a long time. She probably hasn't been around as long as I'm thinking, but she feels like she's been around because she's been to everything. She's in October 21. Like she's
had
been to
34
every
starts. I think
yeah.
she started down at my father's stake in Enniscorthy, the future champion down there, and I think she went to. Did she get knocked out early and she went through the consolation stake, or I can't remember? But she's always been talented, but like just real consistency to her now. Like she was fourth in the final down in Enniscorthy, and that was the start of it. So that was in April, and she's basically been on the go ever since.
And she does. And in fairness, she does feel like she's been around for. She well, he's the Lord, I'd say, in a bit in a fast time as well, didn't she?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you
she did
remember
28.
if you go back to the 4th of August in the opening round of the Derby, she was taking on Drubby's nice one, the laddie da, Ballinulty Ed, Firetime, and a lot of other news. Each and every one of them a star. And this lady at 28-1, pinged out 29-48, first round of the Derby, wins at a big, big price, and she's always capable of that.
Yeah, she won his Laurel 28-13 as well. She's beaten behind Jack Tavern Bolt, half a length from Jack Tavern Bolt, doing 27.99. I mean, she has classic quality. She has to win 90 races now. She's won three of her last four as well. She's 11 races won. She's a funny one because if she ever happened to win something like this, right? If she ever happened to win it, you wouldn't fall down. But I don't think you'd be picking her at the start of the competition, or even at this stage, you wouldn't say, "Oh, I think I'm going to back Glenar Martha now." You just don't. You don't kind of. She's that type of one that kind of goes under the radar a bit. And you see, looking at you talked about the 28-1, but look at her price in general in races last year because she was in that sort of company. She's a funny one like that, but she has that ability. God, she's tough as well.
Given her pedigree, she is certainly one they'll be looking to breed down the line. You'd have to suggest Glengar Badminton goes back to Badminton Girl. Badminton made that breed as well.
Yeah.
And obviously, Druby Sydney, it's a case of finding a cross for Druby Sydney because she was the first female Druby Sydney to win in the competition. But that's all 6 heat winners, Tommy Druby Sydney's. Like he's done from stud duties, but like we're going to be talking about him for a long time to come.
He liked himself. He did a good job while he was at it.
Oh, follow that. Couple more performances I just want to mention. Shelbourne Park, infield rapid, a fantastic winner for Barry Clancy and the Kylemore team. Open 5-2-5 and got loose early 28-47. Like it stacks up very well compared to some of the Gold Cup heats. I think I said in commentary, maybe he should have been in the Gold Cup. And then the next race, the final race in the card was a young, well, he's not that young, he's in October 21, but he's only having his 5th start. Honey Sky from Michael Donnelly and Bill Evans, he wins in 28-35, took off, wins by 8 lengths. It was a mighty fine display. He'd really shown promise in his previous start to that, winning in 28-66, but he actually had to come up from off the pace on that occasion. The other night, flashed out, did everything right, 28-35. Just a couple of nice dogs that I'd be keeping an eye on, both of them October 21 whelps. Let's get into the weekend's racing. Unfortunately, we don't have a draw We don't have a draw for the second round of Gold Cup. It's a state secret. Now, at this time of the year, you do sort of give them you forgive them a little bit because the resets causes problems and tying trainers down and whatnot because of the re-registration. And if 2 or 3 aren't registered, you have to wait. And obviously, they can't get into the system. But no, it wasn't posted anywhere, which is a shame. It would be nice to be able to talk about the second round. Obviously, it's packed with quality. Tommy, if I try to nail you down at this moment in time, who do you think is your most likely Gold Cup winner?
I'd I kind of hope Carrick Aldo because I just like the dog a lot. I don't know. He probably. I do think he'll improve, and I think he can get sharper. So maybe he's the most. Maybe he is. I think it's very open. Like even at this stage, you'd imagine Ballinulty McFinn might step up a bit as well, and like he has that form at that level in Shelbourne Park that maybe Carrick Aldo hasn't so far, and he's probably a more likely winner. But I just think maybe a shot if Carrick Aldo could just knock another 4 or 5 spots off his trap, and he'd be hard to beat.
Yeah, it's great competition. There's a lot of early speed, as you said.
Yeah.
Ballymacfin, another holiday. Carrick Aldo will be the top 3 in the
Another
betting.
holiday, of course, another holiday.
In whatever order, they'll be top of the betting. Like another holiday was favourite from the outset. He may well be favoured. He might be joint favourite now. You'd imagine the likes of Carrick Aldo and Ballymacfin would have seen their prices clip somewhat. But again, as you said, with that much early speed in the competition, it sort of leaves it even more open because they can't all get around. And when they don't, it sort of opens the door for 1 or 2 of the stronger types as well. But no, an interesting competition, no question about it. I think it's as strong a Gold Cup as we've seen in a few years. Every Gold Cup has turned into being a great final, but they always haven't been a very hot opening round. You know what I mean? You have 6 or 7 dogs scattered, and 5 or 6 of them get to the final. Whereas this year there's 10 or 12 dogs there. It's probably a deeper Gold Cup than we've had.
Just see betting actually. Just opened up odds checker now. See betting 5-2 favorite. Who?
There should be no 5-2 favorite in this competition.
Carrick Aldo. 5-2.
Wow, that's very short.
9-2, 9-2 another holiday, 6-1 Ballymacfin, 7-1 Optic Chico, 8-1 Road Exile, who just didn't get a chance to run his race the other night. Droopy Dell is 10s, Foxy Devil is 14s, Glenar Martha is also 14, 16 Deadly Style, and 20 Bar.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I need to sit down and take a look at it
bold
myself.
Over there, no.
No, certainly
not.
I thought it'd certainly be a 4-1 to field competition anyway at this stage, if not even bigger. No, we'll take a look at that later on. There has to be a bit of value there somewhere. Deadly Style 16-1. That's there's worse 16-1 chances out there. Just I like the way he ran the other night. Let's get into the weekend's action. The Dublin Cup took place on Friday night, Tommy, an A1 competition this year. It was won in fine style by Hello Rose. It turned into a nice final. There was a couple of dogs looking to maintain a long winning sequence. La Barbaro was looking for 6 in a row in the final, and Head in the Window was looking for 7 in a row in the final. Both of them sort of fluffed their lines a little bit at the corner or in the opening yards. Hello Rose certainly didn't. I met Andy Hogan, the owner, after racing. He was absolutely chuffed. She's only March 22. She flashed from boxes. She made every inch of the running. He was been accosted by the likes of Liam O'Connor and his grandson. They're obviously very good friends with Andy, and given the fact that they've Hello Mom and Andy is Hello Rose, I suggest they may even have a finger or a toe or something in the bitch. But I thought she's a really nice type. She did 28.50 odd from the front. She's improved every single time she's gone to the track. I don't think she'll win an Oaks, but stranger things have happened. She's certainly one to keep an eye on, just her rate of progression. I thought it was worth the mention. That was worth €7,500 to the winner. Great to see a man like that winning. A local man. Shelbourne Park and Harold's Cross would have been his bag, and he wins with Hello Rose. And the €7,500, Tommy, it's a fair pot.
7,500 for an A2, A3 final is huge money. And she absolutely had this one over already. She absolutely flew out. Actually came out very slightly sideways and straightened herself up very quickly. But sometimes they do when they're so keen to get out. You'll often find the dog that'll kind of come out a little bit unbalanced. Showed lovely early pace, and like I think the most important thing is the fact it's a local winner. I mean, the Dublin Cup comes from is a throwback to the Harold Cross days, and it was a very important stake in Harold's Cross. So not only great to see that's continued, but it's just nice to see the way it's been won by Andy
Yeah.
Hogan.
No, it was one in fine style. Well done to Andy. One to savour. The Born Warrior stake was on at Limerick the other night. The Born Warrior had stood A1. That was an A1. Excuse me. I got the Dublin Cup wrong, of course. You think having been writing about it for the last 5 weeks or whatever it was, I had no one. It was an A2, an A3. The Born Warrior stake the other evening, it turned into a cracking little competition. It was a competitive final. Barefoot and Fire is a dog who has always shown lots of promise. He wins in 28.71. It wasn't straightforward, but he was in the right position, struck in the closing yards. He's a February 22 whelp, Tommy. He's very, very well bred. You would have seen him winning his debut around Cork in the Dennis Linnan. What a competition that has been. Oh, beg pardon, that was the Jerry and Michael Hennerty.
Jerry Hennerty, yeah.
That's always a good competition too. On his debut, he beat a certain Clonmel Curly, who went on to win that competition. Again, those Unraced stakes at Cork, they're producing.
They do. Track is meticulously maintained, and people love to bring their dogs there to trial. They know what they're going to get, and that is very important. You're going to get a good surface. You're going to get a well maintained track. Hugely important if you're trying to bring pups through. So it's why so many people do start their dogs in Curraheen Park. And long may it last. And a couple of interesting things about that the other night. I did hear that the bookmakers had an absolute bonanza on that race. I don't know why. Barefoot and Ice or Barefoot and Fire was somewhat ignored in the betting. But apparently they had an absolute beano on that final. I'm not sure what exactly.
Spike was obviously telling you that, was he?
No, but I was talking to another lad who was there in Limerick the other night. So I just thought it was interesting and good to see that there's plenty of punting going on. And just thinking that it's the Born Warrior as well. We met John Mitchell in Goran Park last week, yourself and myself.
Yeah.
He didn't tell us what his third Derby winner in a row is going to be, but hope springs eternal. He might tell us yet.
Oh, springs eternal is right. No, Barefoot and Fire, good winner. He obviously did that huge run in debut 28-20 around Curraheen Park and was struggling to add to that victory. He had a 28.93 at Limerick. The fact that he's brought him to Limerick and he's won a competition here, he's much better than the 28.71 he did the other night. He's a dog with loads of pace. I think he's a penny dropper. I think the penny's still to fully drop with him. I don't be surprised if he starts doing some flashy enough runs, but just suggest that the Kirby Memorial will very much be the target for him, given his age. The fact that they're after bringing him down to Limerick and gaining some valuable experience there. Well done to all involved. Of course, Barefoot and Fire, trained by Paul Hennessy for his great friends and patrons, Brian and Kathleen Murphy. And last but certainly not least, go ahead.
Sorry, Ian, but he did get knocked over one night, and and Paul has obviously been there, done it all in greyhound racing. So Paul Hennessy knows what you need to do. He knows he has a good dog there. He gave it a bit of time after that. It's about building back confidence now. It's come back, had a few runs this month, as you said. The Kirby you'd imagine will be the plan, and I'd expect plenty of improvement. I'd say Paul knows he has something more than a little bit smart there.
Paul is one of those trainers, certainly these times, he's no problem getting a dog beaten. He's no problem with a dog being beaten once they're learning. And this fellow, like a lot of his dogs in recent years, it's about the experience and about the growth and what they can learn now so they can peak later when he needs to peak. You know what I mean? He's been very careful with ways campaign certain Derby dogs and whatnot. And, the likes of JT Jet, I go back to, like, he just said, no, so this dog is purely Derbies, Derby, English Derby, Irish Derby. Went close to winning an Irish Derby, won an English Derby, won an Easter Cup, and he knows that you have only so many goals with these dogs, and you want them to learn and gain experience before you try and sort of reach the peak with the crescendo. And who knows, Barefoot and Fire, he's a long way to go, but he certainly has plenty of talent, and I just wouldn't be surprised if he took off a bit. Paul has a good string around him at the moment. Let's get on to some more very promising young dogs, because over the weekend the Rural Kennels Open Unraced stake concluded at Clonmel. Last year's competition, if you go back to the final, turned out to be a bit disappointing. There's no question about it. I don't think that's unfair. A few fast dogs came from the competition, have no doubt. But I think this year's competition is different gravy in comparison to last year. I think it's closer to what it was the previous year when Swords Rex beat Droopy's Nice One by a short head in the final. Droopy's Nice One only recently retired. Swords Rex, who we've been told is staying back in training, which is great to hear. But the other evening, the Rural Kennels Open and Race went to that man again, Graham Holland, Rural Taylor, a dog who has blistering early speed, the son of New Win Taylor. One or two of them have impressed. We get on to the consolation final as well, also won by a New Win Taylor. But Romeo Taylor, 28-48 in the opening round. I know Graham Holland was absolutely shocked when Ballymacdanica beat him as easy as she did in the second round. She raced up to him, beat him 8 lengths. She looks a special tool. She was second the other night. She was the 1-2 favourite. Toolmaker Bud was third. And a certain Carrick was fourth. And I think this is the dog that I want to talk about with you in a moment. But Romeo Taylor, Tommy, early speed was very much key to this fellow's success. I think he's one to really keep an eye on. Whether a Derby trip later in the year will suit, I don't know, but he's certainly a dog you could bring to the Laurels in a fortnight.
Yeah, it's impossible to say just what how far he might stay and how he's he's going to strengthen up. He's going to improve. Like 277 on your third run, section on 230, 277 on your third run around Clonmel, as third run of your career is eye catching. Let's just say. He's obviously got that. Danica, she ran a remarkable race, if you ask me. And those 2-1 favourite is beaten, and there's kind of a sense of disappointment. But like last out of traps, did effectively did as much wrong as could happen. You know, you run into traffic. Actually, ran up the back of the winner coming off the last bend, having shown tremendous pace as well, and was probably a little bit unlucky. I mean, you're right to kind of say it was disappointing in one way, but any individual race can be disappointing. It doesn't mean the performances in there were disappointing, if you know what I mean, because it can be just the way a race unfolds, and that's just a little bit about how this was. I'm you know, the winner did 28-74. We would expect probably 28-34 for this competition, but that's fine too. Romeo Taylor will do those in time, I'm sure. And the fact they went off a 9-2 chance would suggest that it hadn't been expected yet of Romeo Taylor. A longer term project. That's the way I'd be picking up that. The runner up, I think, is unlucky. I think the Toolmaker Bud ran on remarkably, but Carrick, a bit like yourself, Ian, Carrick caught the eye big time, big time. And there's a dog that would have clear on the other night, would have done 28-30, but then probably sold the favourite.
Yeah. I genuinely think to be 3 or 4 real classic contenders coming out of this competition. If I was given my choice of any of them, I think I would take Carrick tomorrow. That's me. I like a really powerful, strong running greyhound. I'm not saying he doesn't have the early speed. He was certainly badly drawn the other evening. He was prominent into the corner. He has looked like he wants the fence, but with each run through the competition, he's looked less and less dependent on it, shall we say. So I think he's learning. I think he's a dog that'll end up running from, he could run from the middle of the track. I wouldn't say it'd be an issue, but just given the pace he has shown, I think the world is his oyster. He's only a June 22. A son of Dramana Bucco, I've seen a few of them only, and what I've seen of them I've liked. Out of Droopy Zero, she's produced nearly in every single litter. I was telling you about her son earlier on off air. She had a son called Droopy's Ultimatum. I think it was Droopy's Ultimatum, ran in Shelbourne Park a couple of times. I think he's the fastest ever sectional at the third bend in Shelbourne Park. And sadly, he got knocked over his next race. That was the end of his career. But yeah, Droopy Zero has produced. Obviously, she produced Droopy's Donut, I think, last year, who was a top dog in the UK now. He was one of the favourites for the Unraced stake at Kilkenny. So certainly worth your while keeping an eye on this fellow. I think he's a very, very bright prospect. But again, Romeo Taylor is razor sharp. You can see him challenging for major honours throughout the year. Ballymacdanica, I know they've turned down astronomical money for this lady already. They've had a couple of offers. She looks very, very special indeed. She's out of Ballymac Arminta. We know what a star she was. Even Toolmaker's Bud is third. He's bred in the purple, showed loads of pace. Epic Bella, she's another one bred in the purple. She was fifth. She did 28 at 44 minus 10 in the second round of competition. She's looked very talented. And Savannah Alfredo, another dog on the outside, another well-bred sort. He had a couple of big runs in both in victory and defeat. It's just a really, really top quality final, and one that I'm sure we'll be referencing for quite some time, certainly through the remainder of this year. And one would suspect we'll see plenty of that form on show in the Kirby Memorial. That has been the trend in recent years, Tommy.
Yeah, very much. Just looking at Carrickino as well. Druby's Optimum, I think, was the name of that dog. Um, the not ultimatum, wasn't it? Optimum, I think. But anyway,
Optimally right.
just looking at Carrickino, 302, 3 seconds, 2.9, 2.85, going that right direction. 285 still got him in trouble the other night, but that's because it's the final of one of the hottest unraced stakes of the year. So you're not going to get away with an awful lot at that stage. That's just the nature of it. The dogs at this time of year aren't going to be as forward. Obviously, they're pups, but in general, dogs aren't going to be as forward this time of year. And so no surprise that I ran into a little bit of trouble there. But it's funny, Druby's flight line, when it made its debut, was it early last year or was it late the previous year?
No, it was it
Um,
was it was it was middle of last year. It was in the
oh, sorry,
Unraced
yeah,
debut.
yeah. And its first couple of runs, you're kind of going, maybe this dog lacks a tiny bit of early pace. And now he looks the most specialist early pacer of all time. And looks like if you had to pick out a Laurels winner this year, at this stage, you'd say, well, Druby's Flightline is going to win the Laurels. Now, obviously, a million things change between now and then, but like that's it. Robert Leeson will do what? He'll take him along brilliantly. He's absolutely superb at kind of. You talked about Paul Hennessy developing the dogs as well. I have Robert Gleason in the exact same category. Develop the dog. It's not about winning the race in front of you straight away. It's about developing the dog and getting the best out of it long term. I have him down as a brilliant trainer, and yeah, I'd be looking forward to Carrickino. I really do like the favorite. I know that sounds a bit silly. It was a 2 down
Oh,
favorite and had shown the best form.
like the fact that I'm suggesting that this wasn't her best run and she runs as well as she does in defeat, she beat in a half length. Like what she did in the second and third round was just frightening. She looks an absolute aeroplane. It didn't happen for her the other night. She still runs a fine race defeat, but I think she's capable of so much better. She's again a potential superstar, no question about it. Here's one
Yeah,
for you. Who are the two most famous Danikas? Danica Patrick was a race car driver, and you have Danica Patrick. She was a top race car driver in the States. But Danica McKellar, do you know who Danica McKellar is, Tommy? She played Winnie Cooper in the Wonder Years.
oh my God!
you
Yeah, you
think
weren't
you
expecting
think
that
Liam
from Chewy
Dowling? Do you think Liam Dowling? Do you
yesterday.
think Liam Dowling was a big Wonder Years fan?
You never know. You never know. Winnie is right. Yeah, crying out loud.
Winnie Cooper. There's people
Yeah.
watching this that are way too young and gone, what in God's name are they talking about? Anyway, I want to mention
Only
the consolation final of the Unraced. It was won by Untold Dollar, who also happens to be trained by Graham Holland, is also a son of New Win Taylor out of Glenagat Mildred, which is the Fergus Bell breeding. That's all sort of down that direction. Cork, Water, Clonmel, Munster breeding, and this is another dog with lovely turn of early speed. He's very young. He's an August 22, does a 285 to the night. It was the first night he really sort of hit the lids, goes around in 28.51, -10. He's doing 3 lengths faster than the unraced final itself. This is a promising greyhound. This is one that you certainly have to keep on your radar.
and I commented the winner of the final finished second,
Yeah, Romeo
Romeo.
Falco. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, look, it's very funny when we talk about the favorite and we talk about Carrickino, and we spend less time talking about Romeo Taylor, and he might welcome up and win a derby later on in the year. We don't need to talk about how good Graham Holland is with greyhounds. I think
Yeah. I know
people get
Romeo
fairly
Taylor.
bored pretty quickly. They know.
The only thing I'd say about Romeo Taylor compared to the rest is if they met in 6 months' time, I'd still back Romeo Taylor lead around the corner. That's I think he's just a really natural early pace greyhound.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. And he's going to prove a ton of them. Forget about the clock for the moment. That to me,
He's
forget
he,
about
he's
28.74.
he's also a son on his back greyhound. The dogs like that with the speed. They want top of the
Yeah,
ground conditions. Could you imagine him now, Shelbourne Park in July? You know what I mean? Not going to be too many picking him up.
yeah, or maybe in
November.
Hurricane Park.
Oh, Carrick Park even. A couple of big runs on the undercard. Orchid Queen did 44.57 for the 790-yard trip. She had run very well in defeat at Shelbourne in her previous six-bend outing. Good winner. Gold Cash Ice won the bitch final. There was a couple of nice types in that. She was a 10-1 chance. A daughter of Ice on Fire. She wins well for Jack Mead and Mairead Doyle. Congratulations to them. And then last race that we'll mention is Anna Bailey won in 29.71. He's been a real consistent star, Anna Bailey, for Rachel Wheeler and co. Just a nice dog owned by Dan and Peter Stackpool. And again, one of those dogs where there's going to be a 551 in 29.50 or 60. You know he's going to be close.
It feels like he's been around since I was a child. He just does, doesn't he? Like, popping up here, there, everywhere. A smashing dog. What a lovely dog to own, the type, and Anna Bailey. Like, that's, you might win a derby, but God, you'll have fun along the way.
Yeah. No,
15,
lots to look back on.
winnings.
We're now into February. We're sort of, everything's tuned up. We now know which way the calendar goes. Obviously, the derby this year has changed things around, but in terms of the early season, it remains the same. Tommy, we look forward to the Juvenile Classic. We're going to look forward to the remainder of the Gold Cup for the established stars, but the Juvenile Classic is upcoming. You'll have the Unraced stake at Newbridge for the bitches. That's the Brownstown Tango stake. We'll have the likes of the future champion Enniscorthy. A little bit later in the year, we'll have the Champion Open and Race to Kilkenny, and of course the Kirby Produce Stakes are coming up as well. So lots to look forward to. I would suggest if Tralee is anything like Clonmel, there's some very, very hot dogs to come out.
Hey, look, it's funny. It just gets hectic, doesn't it? It just gets hectic now. You kind of get a half a breather, and yet you have the Unraced stake in Clonmel for the month of January. It's kind of half a breather for the month. But once you get into February and the Tote Gold Cup starts, that's it. That's it. You might as well rev your engines now and get ready to go for the year, because the first round you kind of difficult to get a grasp on where Greyhounds are, where they stand for the season ahead. You're kind of trying to take some idea. I mean, we're kind of half guessing here today. By next week, we'll have a good idea where we stand in terms of the Gold Cup, and we'll start looking ahead to Easter Cups and all of that, and start thinking about different things. And it'll all start to fall together. But just gets so hectic for the year. Like, I was looking back, I couldn't believe how many of these shows we did last year. When you compare it to the previous year, where we kind of took a bit of a break between some competitions and all that, but it's just gone so hectic. But I think it also goes back to what I bored people with last year and the year before. I think we finally have the calendar right, and then we get the whole renovations at Shelbourne Park, just throw things slightly off a little. But like, I think the campaign was right last season. It worked really well for Greyhounds, and it didn't need a lot of tweaking. This is just one of those things, the curveball, having to get the work done at Shelbourne Park. But if we get back into the routine of it again next year, it's just hectic.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. At this time of the year, as you say, the Unraced stakes and the established stars. The established stars will continue through the Gold Cup, and then you will have the Easter Cup and the Shelbourne Open 600. Meanwhile, the Unraced dogs will take their chance in Clonmel or Tralee or Newbridge, Enniscorthy, and then Kirby, Clonmel, and then all of a sudden you get to the point in the year where they all start to blend. The newcomers and the established stars, and that's when it really sort of magic happens, shall we say. It's like a chemistry sort of situation. You know what I mean? You get one ingredient, another ingredient, you put it together, and poof, fire starts or whatever. Something to look forward to. It's going to be a big year. Obviously, it's going to be a strange enough year for those that frequent Shelbourne Park. But as I said, stick with it. Stick with it. Show some patience, because it'll be well worth it when it really is the cash cow. It's the center of our greyhound racing universe, Shelbourne Park, and it should be bright and sparkly, and hopefully when it reopens at the back end of the year, we'll have huge crowds for the Boyle Sports Irish Greyhound Derby. That's it for me this morning. My thanks again to the Exile Dub. Tommy, anything else to add?
No, we're not. We look forward to the year ahead.
That's it, though, from us on this Tuesday evening. Of course, we're back to Mondays from now on. Don't forget, the Tote Gold Cup will continue at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. Some exceptional racing to look forward to. You can watch it via the Barking Buzz app if you wish. If you can't get to Shelbourne Park, well worth your while doing so. A Euro bet will allow you to watch any race you wish. Also, it will be finalised. Final, should I say, will be televised live on GTV on February 24th. So all roads lead to that. Meanwhile, we'll be covering the remaining action from around the country for the next few weeks while the Gold Cup is ongoing. And that's it from this Tuesday evening. We'll see you next time. Good luck, good evening, God bless.